Hello everyone and welcome back to my SL6 New Game Plus 2 No Damage, Melee Only, Pure Black Phantom Tendency playthrough of Demon Souls. Actually got that right on the first time, I'm a little proud of myself. Right now we're in the Valley of Defilement. This is 5-1 and this is probably the toughest initial introduction to a level in order to do it no damage with melee only, because every enemy here wants you dead, especially those hot poker guys. And this route that I'm taking is actually a lot different to the route that I would have taken with the lava bow, because if you remember, the lava bow I actually just sort of went through the level very linearly. I didn't leave anything alive and basically just kept on, as soon as I saw a new enemy I'd shoot it a couple times and then see if I could move on. And this is a different route that I found out half on my own when I was, just messing around in 5-1 and on a different character on my level 150, so I don't have to tiptoe around everything and not get hit. And yeah, apparently there's just a hole in the roof that you can drop down if you roll into it, and you don't have to fight any of the enemies on the way down. It seems like a completely legitimate shortcut, so it was very useful. And right here I've done this entire thing without actually putting the thief string on, but you can't just put the thief string on and not expect things to come chasing after you, because they've already caught your non-thief string aggro, so as soon as they know you're there, they're not leaving you alone. And this is a good path because you don't have to fight many enemies on the way, and I know that might seem like a bit of a cop-out for a melee only run, but I mean, everything I did kill, I killed with melee only. As I kill some rats with some secret throwing daggers, but I haven't actually found a way to kill those rats without getting plagued, so no thanks. You're not seeing my deaths at the moment, and the reason you're not seeing my deaths at the moment is because in the Valley of Defilement Part 1, 5-1, this place is evil. If I showed you all of my deaths on the way to Leechmonger in this level, just before I even figured out that I'd have to try this shortcut method that I thought was really good, I was dying on the first 2 or 3 enemies, or even the first one, because I wasn't holding my shield two-handed in the right hand in order to get into hyper mode, and I was trying to fight these guys by just spamming R1, and of course sometimes that works, but then other times it didn't. And the times I did actually manage to make it here, I was already so nervous, and it had already been about 14 minutes, and I was being really tentative, and to die 10 seconds away from Leechmonger, or worse, to get to Leechmonger, to get into the boss fight, and then to, say, drop off one of the catwalks, take full damage and die, that was disappointing. So this is a fantastic route, because it's fairly fast, don't have to fight many enemies, and you can generally attract aggro as you like. And this is a level that firebombs especially, come in extremely handy, because as you can see right there, using the firebombs isn't a complete fail-safe method to completing a level, but you do need, or at least I needed, the firebombs in order to get the prolonged stunning animation on the enemies with the spears, because their reach is such that unless you time it absolutely perfectly, even with the S-stock, you can't hit them before they manage to hit you. Or if you do hit them, usually they also manage to hit you, so obviously you're the loser in this situation, because you have to start the level all over again. And so what I like to do is just grab the firebombs, and just a moment before I think I should throw it, that's when I press square, because usually they start to run, and with that I can just throw it. And look at this guy's excellent pathing, just getting stuck behind the wall. Lovely. So you have to stun him and try and get him to come around again. And I can't express to you how frustrating this level was, because see what I'm doing right here, because I'm trying to stun the enemy and then run in and get the perk, because that prolonged stun is so useful and so important that if you don't get it, you might as well, like, not even bother, because it is so hard to get a good actual, you know, to get a good shot on one of these guys. And I'd put together like a little death reel of me figuring out, you know, slowly what to do and what not to do, but in the interest of time, because this video, as you can probably see, you know, just in the YouTube player, it is about 33 minutes long, so if I'd shown you my massive death reel as well, this might have gone on for much longer than it really needed to. And right here, a good trick is to keep one of these little ball sack guys alive, so that when the Black Phantom comes towards you, it can't actually knock the other enemy out of the way, and you can just poke it. You can just poke the Black Phantom through the shit. What do you call it? The railing, the rope railing. You can just poke them through that. And of course, that only really works with the first one, because the other enemies, they generally don't have aggro that extends that far, so you have to kill it and make your way through. And those little enemies there, the little bug things with the ball sacks on their heads, they're the ones that drop marrowstone, and they're the lovely ones that I managed to farm completely for shards and chunks of marrowstone, so that I could make my pure weapon to get that trophy. And I've done all the weapon upgrade trophies in this game now, except for Bladestone, and pure Bladestone farming, as many people will attest to, is hellish, and the drop rate percentage is absolute bullshit. Nothing should take this long. It shouldn't. In pure Black World Tendency, with the large sword of searching, it just should not take this long. But that last fight there, did you see that with the large depraved one, where you're on this tiny fucking bridge and it's coming right towards you, and you're thinking, you know, oh shit, don't mess this up, don't mess this up, don't mess this up. You would not believe how many times I messed it up. Just, you've gotten to that point and all you've got is one enemy left before you can go into Leechmonger, like I am right now, and have a chance, just a chance at getting, you know, okay. You know, getting to a point where you can actually make a difference in the... You know, see if you can, like, kill Leechmonger melee only, because this is my only you know, form of, you know, being able to attack Leechmonger, because I said to myself, I'm going to do Leechmonger no damage, but I'm also going to do him melee only, and I've decided, you know, just recently that my no damage thing was perhaps a little bit optimistic. It's still no damage as long as we class the leeches in the ground, in the water, as being environmental damage, like lava or poison, because there is, like, it doesn't matter where you drop down onto, as soon as you get close to Leechmonger at all, definitely as soon as you get close enough to actually hit him, the leeches are on your legs, and you just take damage no matter what. So this is just what I've had to, you know, compromise with myself, because after 7 or 8 tries getting into Leechmonger, trying not to get hit by the leeches, you know, trying not to get it on my legs, I realised that it was literally impossible to get close enough to both deal damage to Leechmonger with a melee weapon and be able to, like, you know, take no damage as well. Sorry, my brain just farted then. So, what we've had to, you know, compromise instead is just the leeches count as environmental damage, and that's about it. But an interesting thing about the fact that I'm always taking damage and the fact that I have to stay in hyper mode is that in order to stay in hyper mode, what I tried to do then and kind of failed at was I put the regenerator's ring on, but I put it on just a little bit too early, so it took me out of hyper mode, and the regenerator's ring is just a little bit more than the leech damage will do to you, you know, over a little while. So instead of keeping me in hyper mode, it took me out of hyper mode, and then eventually the leeches took me back into hyper mode, but then the ring took me back out of hyper mode. So it was this little wrestling contest, and every time I did damage, of course, I managed to only do damage while I was not in hyper mode. Of course, that's just how it works. Every time you want to do something, you can, the game just decides to fuck you if you want. And this is exactly the kind of thing that would come as to no surprise to people who regularly play Demon Souls, but the Leechmonger is not the scary part of 5.1. Leechmonger is the bearable part. Leechmonger is the bit that just seems really scary and really undoable because the level before it took you, likely 10 to 15 minutes just to get through, to have a chance at this thing that may or may not be able to one-shot you. And after closely examining the footage that I've taken of Leechmonger, his attacks are really heavily telegraphed, and they're much easier to dodge than I first thought. And see, as you can see right then, it only took a few swings and then it was down. But unfortunately, the Regenerator's Ring doesn't regenerate as much as I thought it did. It's weird, it regenerates a little bit more than Leech's damage will do, but then it regenerates a little bit less, and then eventually it seems that it must seesaw back and forth between healing you a bit, and then the Leech is doing a lot of damage, and then it healing you a bit, and then the Leech is dealing you a lot of damage. I wouldn't be surprised if there was just like 1 or 2 hit points difference between difference between the leeches doing damage to you and you being healed, so that you always lost about 1 or 2 hit points until right then I lost my I completely just lost all my souls, and I didn't even get to touch the Archstone. So this is just me showing you my route back. So even though I did die, and even though I did say that this was melee and no damage and everything, because I did die, I thought that maybe I could just show everyone that I did manage to just get back to the Archstone without dying in between. So went through 5.1 twice in a row without dying and managed to kill the boss. Although I did die in the boss battle, but not intentionally, and this isn't exactly something I can retry. So it is something I could have retried actually if I went and did 5.1 in New Game Plus 3, but since really just fuck that, and fuck anyone who wants me to do that. So yeah, this is what you're getting. And incidentally, I do actually want... I don't need to apologize, but I do feel like I want to apologize because I don't know if the length of these videos, like this one is 33 minutes, and there is one in this series that is also a little bit longer than that, and it's been brought to my attention that people may not necessarily have the time to watch a full 30-minute video, and I can completely understand that because not everybody has a whole heap of time to dedicate to watching videos during the day, and I've had it recommended to me that 15 minutes would be a much better sort of length. But this type of series, this is, well, Demon Souls, I don't know, Demon Souls, the way that I play it is I don't like releasing small videos because, quite frankly, the process of adding commentary to something, you sit down and you talk, and if it's a longer video, then I get to talk about my experiences with not only what is just happening in this video, but what is happening basically in this world. Because if I basically have one video to one world, or one video or 2 videos to one world, then that means that I have basically like 30 minutes or 40 minutes to sit down and talk about this, as opposed to me sitting down with you for 9 minutes while I complete a level and just barely getting into a conversation or getting into a point to make, and before I finish up and manage to give you my final thoughts and that kind of a thing, and go on strange little tangents like this as well. And as much as I think smaller episodes would be easier to swallow a bit at a time, I think this sort of format, this challenge, this bit where I can basically finish an Archstone in 1 or 2 videos is, I think it displays the challenge a bit better, and you don't have to go from video to video to video to video to video just to see me finish one level. I think it sort of rounds it up all nicely. And anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about that because it's a bit. I guess if you don't care and if you just want to hear the commentary about the game, which by the way at the moment I'm skipping around Selin Vinland, Black Phantom Selin Vinland, who can be kind of strange to fight against because once again you're in this swamp without a ring that you can use to move normally, while meanwhile they can move normally just fine, and her sword ignores shields, and she does a whole heap of damage, and she can heal, and basically the only advantage you have over her is that you don't have an aggro range and she does, so you can exploit that all you want. At the moment this would just be me waiting for my hyper mode to come on, and I think I sped this up. I don't know. No, I didn't speed it up. Lovely. So I've just... yeah, this is lovely. Yeah, there we go. It didn't take too long. So what I like to do is just put on the Grave Robber's ring, and then run up with the Crescent S stock with the Morion blade and Clever Rat ring activated, and just give her a backstab. And then you can just run away because with the Grave Robber's ring, as soon as you run beyond a certain point, then she just sort of ceases to acknowledge that you exist anymore. And this is how I've always handled Selin Vinland. She's just not been the kindest Black Phantom to me. I don't really know how to handle her otherwise, sadly. If she were like Black Phantom Riddell, then I think that could be something that and look, she's healing as well, because that does quite a lot of her health as well, because she's obviously got the whatever the Great Heal equivalent is in Demon Souls, and she's got inflated stats and everything, and inflated health, so I think if she were a normal version of herself, if she used that spell, it would have just been a full heal, but because she's a Black Phantom, it only heals about 1/3 of her life, and luckily whenever she uses that spell, it's not like Satsuki, like Black Phantom Satsuki with his Bloody Dark Moon Grass, because look, she just did a little heal then, and it only healed about a 1/4 of her health then, so she must have used one of the weaker heal spells. Yeah, so luckily if you do manage to catch her in a stun while she's trying to heal, then you can probably kill her depending on your weapon, depending if you're in hyper mode or not. And I managed to kill her basically the bitchy way, but I have to say that after some experience fighting Selin and just fighting all these Black Phantoms in general, you tend to have... see, there is nothing quite as amazingly satisfying as not only doing this kind of a challenge and finishing it and saying, yeah, I did this all, no damage, look at me, and then once you're done with it, going back to pure Black World Tendency on New Game Plus with one of your other characters, say your level 150 character with the Dragon Bone Smasher and 50 strength and all this lovely duplicated duplicated soul earned stats, lovely things. And like Selin's chasing me, and of course because she's unencumbered she can just chase me all she wants, and I'm gonna run out of stamina because I can only move so fast in the swamp, so she killed me. And yeah, getting back to what I was saying, if you come back with a character like that's got all these abilities and everything, you can just sneak up behind one of these Black Phantoms, and if you've got hyper mode and you've got good stats and like the Morion blade and everything activated, if you come up behind Selin Vinland and backstab her, you will one-shot her on whatever New Game Plus you're on. And that is incredibly satisfying. And it's just because Selin Vinland isn't incredibly she is incredibly annoying by herself. It's the walk to her that's annoying. Like, it's not even a dangerous walk, it's just a walk that makes you use a couple of items every time you do it. And this walk to Selin is fine, but Skirva taking care of Skerva with a Dragonbone Smasher is probably the most fun that I've had with Demon's Souls since I officially finished with my challenge run for it. And just being able to run down and stop him from healing, not only able, just stun him to stop him from healing, but smack him with the Dragonbone Smasher and send him flying across the room. I love that. I love that the Dragonbone Smasher can do it. And once I got back to the character that could actually use it, I realized why I picked that character, because it's so ridiculous and so fun that it doesn't even matter that the game's not challenging anymore. The fact that the game isn't challenging after it's been challenging for so long is what makes it so fun. And you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of, if anyone remembers, Jak 3 from the PlayStation 2. Jak 3 was just one of the Jak and Daxter series of games, and was obviously the third one in the series if you have a functioning brain and can count. And in that game, the more money or the more game completion you got in the game, the further you got to finishing it, there was a menu in the extras sub-menu in the start menu that you could use to unlock cheats, and these cheats would be stuff like infinite life or infinite armor, or I think in that game Jak had 2 different modes. He could switch between an angel mode and a devil mode, that kind of a thing, and those things usually used up some sort of a power bar that you had on your just under your health. And if you had these cheats, you also had cheats like unlimited ammo and stuff. If you had these cheats, then you could have unlimited angel mode or unlimited devil mode or whatever the fuck it was. And that reminded me, Demon's Souls reminded me of that, because I went back from this character that couldn't even take a single hit from anything that it wasn't blocking, and I'd gone to this level 150 character that could take 20 hits before I even had to really worry about actually eating some grass. So it was quite a shift. It felt like I had all the cheats turned on all of a sudden, and it was a lovely feeling, and it was so fun. It was like that childlike sense of joy you get from just putting in all the cheat codes and then going, alright, let's fuck up the game. Because generally when you put on cheat codes in games, it's because you had trouble with it, or you just didn't feel like trying at all. And at that point, I felt like I had earned the right to fuck around in Demon's Souls. So that's what I've been doing for the little while after I finished my challenge. I just went around and did a few of the trophies, and I fucked around with that sort of a thing. And I need to talk about this level 5-2. This part of this level, it is so much more daunting than it actually if you choose to go about this the wrong way, with the S-stock the way I thought I'd go around with it anyway. The first when I hadn't done this melee only yet, I thought I'll just use the S-stock and I'll be really careful, and it'll probably take me a while, but eventually I'll get to what's his name, the Dirty Colossus, and I'll be fine. And that did not go well. There are so many enemies in this place that for the longest time I must have died 11 or 12 times trying to get through here, because just something always caught me. Something always caught me, just one of these guys that I'd somehow managed to miss, or that aggroed that hadn't aggroed before. And see, like that guy on the right that just ran in. He's one of those guys that if I hadn't seen them, it would have been that one enemy that came in from out of nowhere and attacked me. And see, what I'm doing right now is because there's 3 hostile enemies here, I'm just trying to stun them with the firebombs and get a normal R1 off with the S-stock, because the S-stock is fantastic, but what I really needed, and what I just managed to do before, if you noticed, is I took the Storm Ruler in with me into the swamp when I ran, and the depraved ones that dropped into the swamp with me, I used the Storm Ruler on to knock over and then ran away from. And because I'm wearing the Thief's Ring, by the time they got up, I was already far enough away for them to forget I even existed, so that's a good way of skipping past the first half of this this 5-2, this one area in 5-2 that's so chock full of enemies. And this guy can be deceptively dangerous as well because he gets stuck, and all these little depraved ones have this really annoying attack where they run forward and then they like shove their hands out in front of them, and it is this is so annoying, and it's so much bullshit that it hits you and it does so much stamina damage that it basically always breaks your guard. And now, so what I've managed to do is I've just grabbed the Stormruler and knocked a couple of guys over, and I even run past that Shaman, whatever he's called. And this is my first run to Stormruler, to Stormruler, to Dirty Colossus. And Dirty Colossus, he didn't quite lay down this time like he always used to when I fought him. It was a bit of a dick actually, because I didn't know what was wrong. Like if I didn't feel like I could get too close to him because he was always doing this 3-hit swing combo that I just thought, well, that I know Demon Souls, and Demon Souls has some really vague hitboxes, and if I stick around for too long, if I let myself stick around for too long, I'm going to get hit by that. That's just what's going to happen. So I've sort of just taken to picking my shots really carefully. And I said in my last run, I think that I thought, ooh, I almost ran into the flies then. And I said in my last run that I thought that the Dirty Colossus was basically like the Asylum Demon, in that if you stayed behind him, you were basically safe. And while I don't disagree with that, the only really safe place to attack him from is from behind. This feels like a much more dangerous fight than the Asylum Demon. I'd say he's a bit more like the Stray Demon in the fact that he has some dangerous attacks, and he has some interesting area limiting bits, attacks where you just can't move into some areas because otherwise you might find yourself boxed in, like this with the flies, where Stray Demon has his AoE explosion attacks, so you basically always have to be focused on either being directly behind him or getting directly behind him, because if you're not behind him, there's a pretty good chance that he'll want to do his little explosion attack. But there's Dirty Colossus down, and I did my little circle run because I was really happy to be done with 5-2, because that means that we've only got Garl Vinland left to do, and Garl Vinland is not strictly an easy boss, but seeing as you can parry him, it's a bit like Gwyn, and Gwyn off Dark Souls, because you can parry Gwyn as well. And once you can parry an enemy, once you have the timing down, it doesn't even matter what they do, especially because Garl isn't even like Gwyn. He's not a boss that you can parry. He's an NPC that you can parry. So, but he counts as a boss. So what you do is you just learn the parry timings, and I put on the blind in my left hand, and I don't know if you can parry with things that you can't use in your left hand. I don't think it affects it, because I don't think it affects it in Dark Souls either, but I wanted to see if I could parry Garl with his sister's weapon, which I thought was a bit twisted, and I felt like being a bit twisted because Archstone Fire, Valley Defilement, had been kicking my ass up to this point, so I felt like I had to give something back. And honestly, looking at my menu just there, seeing that I have the Stormruler, I kind of wonder what effect the Stormruler has on Garl Vinland, because I know he's just a normal NPC, so by normal extension of that logic, if I use the Stormruler on him, I'd just be able to knock him straight out of the way. And I wonder if you can use that to just basically, because I know if you hit his shield the first time, he'll start to attack you, but if you've already queued up another attack with a weapon like the Stormruler, because the Greatswords attack curiously fast in Demon Souls, if you queue up another attack, you'll probably just hit him while he's trying to attack you and end up sending him flying again. So my thought is that basically you could knock him into like the pond, the plague pond down below, and I don't think he'd get hit by any of the little plague babies that are down there, but there's a chance that he might catch the plague, and I'm really curious about this now. So I think I might... no, I can't go back. I could probably go back with my level 150, actually. I think I'll try that. And go back and see what the Storm Ruler does to him, because I'd like to be able to hit him with the Storm Ruler just like a few times in a row, and knock him down to like right beside Maiden Astraea, and then kill Maiden Astraea in front of him. And I think Garl kills himself if you kill Maiden Astraea, I'm not sure, but that seems like the kind of thing that would happen. Because basically if you kill... I was talking about killing his woman and he killed me. Anyway, because I think that's what happens. If you kill Maiden Astraea, he kills himself. And I think if you kill Garl... No, I know if you kill Garl, Maiden Astraea kills herself when you go and talk to her, which is really sad and everything, but I'm just curious about how it works now. But as you see right now, I think I've given up my dream of being a really sick fuck and taken off the blind and put on the buckler, because I tried parrying him a few times with the blind, and I don't know if the timings are really different, because I know in Dark Souls they're not all that different if you parry with a curved sword or a rapier in your left hand, but they felt really different here. So, and see, I know the timings on the buckler. I know them. And right here, I use the dragon longsword, and then I switched to the crescent, the crescent S-stock to see if I did more damage with either one of them, and I actually do more damage with the dragon longsword, and that makes sense because Garl Vinland's wearing the dark silver armor, which presumably protects against magic really well, so that makes sense that using a magic weapon against him would do less damage, even though it has a higher critical rate and just higher damage overall than the dragon longsword. The dragon longsword just does heaps of damage on those attacks, so I'm sorry that you had to see me switching through my menus that time, but I honestly didn't really expect to make all those parries, so I didn't really mean to. So what I just did then is I ate a dark moon grass and then talked to Maiden Astraea, and of course she killed herself because she's lonely, and that means we're done. We are done with 5.3. We are done with the Valley of Defilement in its entirety, finally. So next episode we're going to be taking on the Shrine of Storms, and that is all in one episode as well, which is just fantastic because it is not a 3-part sprawling masterpiece of just drawing things out. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.